Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of talking about DIY guitar pedals. I've spent the last couple episodes talking about some beginner tips, how to get started, tools you need, and things like that. And I'd like to continue talking about some of those beginner sort of things, just so that we can kind of complete a series on beginner stuff. I think I said last episode, this is not all going to be beginner stuff, but I'm starting this series from scratch. I'm going to start at the beginning. So the last couple episodes, I talk about tools that you need, and I talk about just generally how to get started, whether you want to go with strip board or PCBs. If you missed those episodes, I'll link them in the description. It's also on a playlist on this channel. But let's go over today some of maybe your first pedals that you might be wanting to make. As I mentioned in my last video, I prefer to build on strip board. I think there's a lot more freedom to strip board. You get to kind of make what you want to make and not rely on kits. When thinking about your first strip board build or even your first PCB build, don't go too big. It can be tempting to be like, oh, I want to make a Tube Screamer or a Boss DS1 or something like that. And those are great pedals. These are probably pedals that will get you into guitar pedals in general and probably get you into wanting to make your own pedals. But those are really big pedals that can be a bit challenging to make, not because of any weird techniques or anything. They just have a lot of components. So I would really encourage you for your first few builds, whether that's on strip board or whether it's on PCB, to go with something smaller. A smaller build with fewer components, something that for a more experienced builder might be able to bang them out in 30 to 60 minutes or less. If you are less experienced, it might take you 2, maybe even 3 hours to put the circuit together. But you'll get a working pedal a lot faster that way than trying to build something really big that for an experienced builder might take 4 hours to do, and for an inexperienced builder it might take you 8 hours to do, which is why you want to start small. And if you start small, if you do make any mistakes, you'll be able to find those mistakes a lot faster. I keep putting this one up here that I'm still working on. This is big, this is huge. It took me hours and hours of work, and I can't get it to work. And it's so big, trying to debug this thing is a pain. And the schematic that I'm using to try to reference any debugging is also large and confusing. And honestly, I'm lost on this. I don't want to give up. I don't think I'm going to give up just yet, but it's one of the ones where I'm just going to set it aside for a while because I've spent so much time on it and I'm frustrated with it. So I'm just going to set it aside and I'm going to come back to it later. And again, if you're just starting out and you start out too big, you'll get frustrated and you're not going to enjoy this hobby and you're never going to come back and continue to enjoy it. So if you start something small, you can then succeed quickly and early and then build yourself up to something bigger, like a Tube Screamer or one of your favorite pedals. So I have a few great beginner builds in front of me that I'll show you the circuit, and then I'll give you a little sound clip of how they sound. Keep in mind, just for ease of recording this video, I'm doing everything through a loop pedal to make it easy for me to play little sound clips of this. With a lot of these smaller pedal builds, like for example, what's this? This One Knob Fuzz by Color Sound. The amount of fuzz that you're getting out of this is going to be reliant on how much volume is coming into it, either from this loop pedal or from your guitar itself. So on a circuit like this, what's happening is you're actually just adjusting the volume here. And so that's not the amount of fuzz, that's going to be the amount of volume. I think on this one, I know at least with something like the Champ by Love Pedal, that's very much the case. This is a volume knob, not a how much overdrive you're giving it. So what happens is the more volume you put into it from either your guitar or the pedals before it will affect how much overdrive this is giving you. And so when I'm running something like this through a loop pedal, you'll notice that it's not going to give you quite as much drive as if it was running through a actual guitar. That's just, and look, sorry, I'm not going to go, I'm in the garage, I'm not going to go and get my guitar, and as well as I know when I'm trying to record a video like this, I'm going to just stuff up playing the guitar, and it's going to take me all afternoon to make it sound okay. I'm just going to do it through a loop pedal. You'll get an impression of how these things sound, and you'll know whether you want to build them. So let's go through these. I'm holding this one. So let's start with the Love Pedal Champ. This is a nice little circuit, only one transistor in there. Only one transistor in there, and not many components. You can bang this out pretty quickly. It's a nice little overdrive, designed to sound like an old overdriven Fender Champ amplifier. If you're unfamiliar with the Fender Champ itself, I think it's a 4-watt amp that has been used forever as a practice amp, but also has been used really cranked up in a lot of recordings. Sounds great, but you can't always crank up your amp really loud, so you can get a similar sound with something like a Love Pedal Champ pedal. Let's give it a go. So just remember once again that the amount of volume I'm putting into this pedal is going to make it more overdriven. This is just turning it up louder. And that's pretty much cranked as loud as I can get out of the loop pedal at least. You might be able to get a little bit more at home. Next up, we have the One Knob Fuzz by Color Sound. Kind of is what it says. It's a fuzz that does with one knob. Another pretty easy circuit. This one has 2 transistors in it and a handful of components. Not terribly challenging to build, and you can see with something like this, since there's not a lot in there, it's easy to actually be pretty tidy in the enclosure. My enclosure work is never that good, and I'm surprised that I actually got it that tidy. You'll see on some of the next ones they're not quite as tidy, but this is just a nice little fuzz pedal, and easy to make and easy to use. Let's see how it sounds. Really nice fuzz on that one for a single knob, I think. There's a lot of harmonics going on, a bit of screeching for really a pretty simple riff. Probably, just as I'm going side by side with all these, I think this is probably one of my favorite one knob ones so far. Next up, we have the Speaker Cranker. This is by Earthquaker Devices. Again, of course, these are all one knob, easy to make guitar pedals that you can do yourself. What's this? One transistor as well. You're probably seeing a bit of a pattern here. One transistor. You can see a little bit of a patch job that I did just there. I stuffed something up, so I just patched it up. But no, once again, really easy to make. This is kind of an overdrive, kind of a distortion. It just makes loud, basically. Let's see how it sounds. And if you want to go a little bit more challenging, I wouldn't say that much more challenging, we got the Acapulco Gold. This is by Earthquaker Devices. This actually doesn't use transistors. It's got 2 op amps in there. Other than that, not a whole lot. You can see the board's a little bit bigger than the other ones, but there's not that many components, so not too hard. The only problem, I suppose, is it is 2 op amps, and I'd encourage you to use IC. What are they? The IC sockets in there. It makes them easier to put in. If you get a bad op amp, you know, you can just replace it. This one is just a little bit harder just because it's a little bit bigger, but honestly, should be fine. Maybe as your first project, maybe you leave that as your second project, but it sounds great. Let's see. That's loud. Cool. Yeah, geez, haven't played that one in a while. I forget how loud it gets. Finally, we'll do something a little bit, we'll go out of the one knob ones, and this is a clone of a harmonic jerkulator. I'm making a few of these for friends at the moment. So as you can see, 2 knobs. And I'm just about finished with this one. I'm just testing it, making sure it works. I have to put knobs on and stuff like that. This one, once again, maybe your second project, not very hard. 2 transistors in there. Bit messy in there. I think I was rushing. This is a rush job on the inside, but yeah, it's just for a mate, and it's going to sound fine. So I don't really care that much. Don't tell him. But yeah, this is a harmonic jerkulator, which is actually a silicon clone of the harmonic percolator. I know the harmonic percolator is a pretty popular pedal, at least in the DIY community, but getting the parts for it can be a little bit difficult, which is why the harmonic jerkulator is actually kind of the preferred one to build DIY. If you want the harmonic percolator fuzz, this will do. It's silicon, not germanium, so it's going to sound a little bit different, but it still sounds great. Let's see. Just before I annoy the neighbors too much with successive fuzz pedals and various loud noises. Yeah, there's the harmonic jerkulator. Yeah, let's close out the video. Other than that, I don't really have a lot going on with my builds. As I mentioned, you know, I'm working on a few of these. I'm going to build 4 of them just for some friends. People are always like, oh, what's that fuzz pedal? And, you know, my wife was kind enough to make some artwork for it. You've already seen it, but rather than harmonic jerkulator, it's the jerk chicken. I think it sounds really rad, and a lot of friends like it, so it's something to build. And you know, there's not many parts, and I usually have the parts for it lying around, so I'm just building a few of those, especially because, as per my usual thing, I'm unorganized and I am waiting for more parts for more builds to come up. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to do that. I want to do the artwork for this. What is this? This is a Blues Breaker. I'll do the artwork for this, so I'm actually going to gut this and redo it. I've played with this a little bit. I'd like to try a different op amp in this. I'm not sure what's really going on with it, but I think I can get more out of it. So I'm going to try a different op amp in there when those come. Other than that, when the parts come, which will be this week, yay, I'm going to try some bigger builds. I want to try a Boss DS1. I mostly build fuzz and overdrive, so I don't really have a lot of distortion on my rig or access to a lot of distortion other than a Rat that I just finished, which is awesome. I also built a Green Giant by Greer, which is pretty cool, but I want to try that classic Boss distortion. I'm also going to be trying to make a Marshall Governor. I don't know whether it's this run or coming up. I have a whole list of everything that I want to make, and you know, pedals, there's thousands of them out there, so I think the list of stuff that I want to and will be able to make is almost endless. So that stuff should be coming this week, so I can get started. Other than that, I'm kind of behind on things for the website because I've made the Rat. I have like 2 or 3 pedals that I've recently made. I haven't put them on the website because I'm just concentrating on building. The weather's been so nice, so I can just sit in the garage and build all the time. And if we get a turn of the weather, then I can sit down and go on the computer and actually write some stuff. But until then, I'm just going to be building. If you check the website, you'll probably see a quick succession of pedals, new pedal builds come up there. Until then, I'll keep doing these videos. if you have any questions about any of these one knob or simple, easy first DIY project guitar pedals, feel free to put them in the comments. As I mentioned, I'm going to link to the strip board layouts and the schematics for all of these. So if any of them sound good or interesting to you, feel free just to follow that link, go on the website, and follow the instructions. I'll also put in the link a more step-by-step how to make a guitar pedal based on this speaker cranker here. If you've never built a pedal before and you have trouble following the schematic or the layout and don't know how to read strip board layouts, I have an article that is really step by step of this is what this means, this is what this means, this is where you get all the components and things like that. So this is really starting from square one. This one, if you are more familiar with DIY electronics in general and you know how to read strip board and a little bit more confident, you can jump to any of the other ones. And look, even if none of these really appeal to you, you need to start somewhere. So start somewhere. Find one that you think is fun. And honestly, I've been working on this site for a while now, and to be getting the website portion of this going, I wanted to do a lot of easy to build guitar pedals just to populate it. So I have way too many things like this, like one knob things that honestly I'm not using terribly much these days, but I built them just to be able to put them on the website so that people can read and people can learn. And you do have to start somewhere. So look, build something like this, enjoy it for a little while. Hey, it's my first pedal, great, and then go from there, and then maybe go up to the Jerkulator, and then go up to something bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's going to sit in a corner. Maybe you put it on a bookshelf proudly as your first pedal. Maybe you give it to a friend or something like that. But you have to start somewhere. So start with one of these 5. Let me know how you go. Let me know what your favorite is. And really looking forward to hearing about any pedals that you guys make. Thanks.